Welcome to another edition of the Car Doctor program on 95.9 WATD. My name is John Paul, the Car Doctor, here to help you with your car problems on this Sunday morning. Did something I've never done before, really, I guess. This past Friday, I went to Sebring International Raceway. And Sebring's a few hours away from me. And I went with one of my neighbors from up north, actually. And it is the oldest continuing operating racetrack in the United States. I think the first race was run in 1950. It's a classic sports car racing track. It is, I'm guessing it's somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe 3.5 miles long, but it's been around for a long time. It's hosted a bunch of major events. One of them is 12 Hours of Sebring. They've been running that, I think, since it began. It shares space with an airport, too, which is kind of interesting. And the event I went to was called Pistons and Props, and it was racing, and it was also, they had vintage planes that were coming in later in the day. I didn't stay for that. I stayed for a lot of the racing, and I went on Friday, so it was time trials mostly. There was at least one race, maybe two, but I knew one person who was racing, somebody I've known, somebody who's been on this program once, a guy by the name of Steve Fitzgerald. He used to work for UTI. He's about my age. He still races. He has a BMW 3 Series. Pretty much, there's not a lot of BMW left in it. And I shouldn't say that. Not a lot of BMW metal in it. It has a lot of fiberglass and tube chassis. It's running about a 400 horsepower engine. Pretty amazing car. And he did really well. He raced on Saturday, but I saw him out on doing time trials, and he did pretty well in the time trials. And he hadn't been in the car for a couple of years. He had some health problems, so he decided to put the car back together, take the engine apart, rebuild it, put it back together, buy, a couple sets of tires for it, and put it back on the vehicle. Also, while I was there, he works with a guy by the name of Irish Mike. Irish Mike owned a big body shop. His son runs the three. I think he has three shops now, but he also races a Porsche 911. Actually, he has two teams. It was kind of funny. We were walking around looking for his truck, and I didn't know what I was looking for really. So I called up Steve Fitzgerald's wife, who wasn't at the track, which was kind of unusual, and she said, no, look for a big, you can't miss it. It's a transporter truck. You'll be able to find it. It's not that hard to find. So we're walking around. Literally, it's within 100 yards of where I parked. And it was pretty hard to miss because it was green. And it was a tractor trailer with a big slide-out camping cab on the front of it. And they had a big triple size easy up setup where they could put two cars under it so they could work on the cars. They were working on Steve's BMW. They were working on Mike's 911. They were replacing the brakes in his 911. The BMW, they were just tinkering with it a little bit. It was didn't really need too much. But I also got to meet some of the folks that were there. One of them was their tech guy. And the idea that these cars, I asked them what the telemetry was like in some of these cars, and they literally know when they apply the brake, how much brake on all four wheels, how much lift on the corner, how much not just acceleration and G-force and yaw and all of that stuff, plus spark and fuel. And the telemetry part was fascinating to be able to look at all the different things they were watching, including when the ABS kicked on. It was a lot of stuff going on. And if you've watched the movie F1, which was, I think, a pretty good representation of what really happened in that movie, um, the the tech guy actually worked on the movie, uh, and his job, which was kind of funny, his job was to keep Brad Pitt from going too fast. Apparently, in Brad Pitt's contract, when he was behind the wheel of this race car, he was not supposed to go more than 150 miles an hour. So it was this other guy's job, this guy who was helping out with Fitzy and Irish Mike. It was this guy's job to keep Brad Pitt under 150 miles an hour. And eventually, what they did, because Brad Pitt wanted to go faster than 150 miles an hour, once he got familiar with the track they were working on and the car he was in, he just wanted to go faster and faster, and he couldn't because his contract said he couldn't go any faster. So what they did electronically was lock out sixth gear in the vehicle, which I thought was kind of an interesting way to do it. That way, you could only go so fast. So it was a good experience. Because it was time trial day and only one or two races, it was not very crowded, and we had the walk of the park basically. So through the paddock area, which I find more interesting than the racing part of it. I like seeing all of the transport trucks. I like seeing all of the gear and equipment they use. The cars are phenomenal. There was everything from a 64 Falcon that was very competitive in the historic races to things that looked like F1 cars. You didn't know any better. And it was a good all day time. It was interesting. Some of the race teams, and I don't know who it was, but there was a guy in a Ford, maybe an Expedition, and he had an open trailer, and his car was on the open trailer. So his Expedition was pretty full with his toolboxes and spare tools and parts probably, and his open trailer. And then there was one team, they had at least 3 tractor trailers and a full commercial kitchen setup. And I thought maybe it was kind of a retail kitchen for the drivers that got hungry and didn't bring lunch with them or something. No, it was just for that team, and they literally had a full commercial kitchen set up. The length, it was a sort of a 40-foot long trailer that opened up on the sides, and it had a full kitchen set up. Another one had just a normal like car trailer, maybe a 30-foot car trailer, and it was all set up with a full kitchen inside of it, not quite as big as the other one. And then of course there was people that just ate track food like I did. But it was a great experience. If you ever have the opportunity to be in Southwest Florida and you're able to get over to the Sebring Raceway, take a look around. It is a first off, it's set in. You drive through a few towns to get there. It's kind of, I don't want to call it out in the middle of nowhere, but it's like all racetracks. They're out in the middle of nowhere. This one is, there's the facility is first rate. It's just everything's clean and organized. Everything from food vending, which is there, to plenty of bathrooms and showers for the drivers and all kinds of stuff. I haven't been to a lot of racetracks. I have driven on Road Atlanta before in a Porsche 911. I have driven on Pocono a bunch of times in a variety of different cars. I've driven down in Lime Rock in sports cars, and Nazareth when that track was open, which was a little small bull ring of a track. But in these road course tracks, pretty good. And what do we got today? We got the Daytona 500. And the ARCA race was yesterday, I think. I remember last year, somebody who I've known of for years, although we don't know each other really anymore, but Dale Quarterly originally from Abington, and then moved to the western part of Mass, and then down to Mooresville, North Carolina. He last year ran. He's a little bit younger than me, but he's not young by any means. And last year he ran the Craftsman Truck Race, and then an hour later ran the ARCA race, which, driving for that long on Daytona's track has to be exhausting. I'm not quite sure how he managed to pull it off in a guy in his 60s. But he managed to do it, which was pretty phenomenal. If you'd like to join us and talk about, maybe you've been to racetracks, maybe you've driven a race car, maybe you have a question about your car, you can give us a call at 781-837-4900. We were supposed to talk to John Verasek from a company called Repair Surge, and I talked with his PR person earlier in the week, and I was pretty convinced he was going to call in. They said he's all set, and don't know what happened to him. So maybe wherever he's located, he was either in Michigan or Ohio. Maybe they're having weather problems out there. Who knows what the case is? But, he's having, we don't know where he is. But if you would like to join us, we know where you are. You can give us a call at 781-837-4900. If you're listening online, if you're listening in person? I guess you could be. If you're listening on 95.9, either way, give us a call at 781-837-4900. Phone lines are open if you'd like to join us and talk about whatever you have on your mind about cars. Love to hear from you. Couple of the questions that came in this week, and this one I seem to get this a lot. And guy by the name of Don writes in, and he says, recently brought my 2025 Camry to the dealer for a 15,000-mile service. Well, the service person told me it is their policy to suggest fuel injector cleaning for $170 during this particular service. Oddly, when I had a 2016 Camry for 9 years, never had fuel injector cleaning suggested, so I passed this time. Was this an attempt at unnecessary upsell by the dealership? Well, the dealership might recommend it, but looking in the Toyota Owner's Manual, ALLDATA, Mitchell, there is no scheduled recommended service that includes fuel injector cleaning. There's some services, but fuel injector cleaning isn't one of them. Unlike, for instance, Kia and Hyundai, about every 24,000 miles, I think, they actually do recommend adding a fuel injector cleaner to the fuel tank. I assume this $170 is more, hopefully is more than adding a bottle of stuff. What's kind of interesting, too, is probably as part of the service, and it's probably one of these BG kits where you disconnect the fuel line, attach it to a vacuum line, and let the chemical run the engine and clean it out. But usually as part of that, it's also listed as a throttle body cleaning, which is kind of odd because you can't really, it's not like a mechanical throttle body where you could open up the throttle and clean inside there with fuel injector cleaner, carburetor cleaner, whatever you want to call it, and a soft toothbrush and clean all the carbon out. Because it's electric, you really shouldn't force it open. So there's really not anything you do other than just kind of clean the outside. So not so great, really. So that's one of the ways, we can look at different services. I like to compare what people are being asked to do and what really needs to be done. Our phone number, 781-837-4900. We know where Tom is. He's in Kingston. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm good.
A
little disappointed in my guest. A little disappointed in my guest, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're stuck with me right now.
I value the regulars who listen to this program like you.
Thank you. So while you're on this subject, before I talk to you about what I want to talk about, so would you recommend the name brand gasoline companies that say that they clean fuel injectors? Do they really work? Or are we better off buying one of those bottles from a local parts store? And does that really work?
what I would recommend is use top tier fuel. Go to toptiergas.com. Top tier fuel has more additives in it than non top tier fuel, and it helps keep combustion chambers cleaner. Typically, it's brand names, but not always. Um, and that will help keep the fuel injectors cleaner, and keep the combustion chamber cleaner. I try to use it when I can. It has a residual cleaning effect. So, like Citgo, for instance, and BP are top tier. So isn't, I think, most mobile. But it's in the 87 octane has the same amount of cleaner in as premium. So you don't. It's not like some of the advertisements. So like run premium because it's cleaner. No, this will do. This will do the same. But I still a couple times a year throw a bottle of Techron in my cars because Techron's been around since almost I have. So I think it's a good product and it works.
That's good. Okay, first thing, you talked about UTI. I know that as a medical term. What does UTI stand for?
Oh, I'm sorry, Universal Technical Institute.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
And you talk about the racetrack, and he locked out the sixth gear so he wouldn't go as fast. I thought the whole idea of the track is to go as fast as you can and win the race.
But on a movie set with a famous celebrity like Brad Pitt, apparently in his contract and his insurance, they said he couldn't go more than 150 miles an hour.
Wow.
And he wanted to go faster.
For sure.
Yeah.
With an opportunity like that?
Yeah. So
that is great. Did you get a chance to go to Daytona 500?
No, I've been to the Daytona track as a guest.
Yeah.
I was at some event where you got to go out, you got to drive on the van, you got to drive around on a van, and then you get out of the van on the High Bank Oval, and you wonder why the van doesn't roll over on its side. It's banked that much. It's pretty amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. I was there for some AAA event, and they said, "Oh, you want to go see the track?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'd love to."
It's quite the experience going there.
Yep.
I was
there
a couple times.
Yeah.
It's really nice. Especially hear them practicing at night. 10:30 at night, you still got them going around the track.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, probably wouldn't want to be a neighbor, but yeah.
No. My relatives lived in the neighborhood, and that's what they heard. But they didn't know the noise because you get so used to it over years.
Yeah.
It's like having a train track in your backyard. You don't even realize the trains are going by at certain times.
Exactly.
Well, good. Well, thank you for the explanation.
All right.
I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Tom. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Let's go to Ken in Topsfield. Ken, good morning.
And good morning. I have a question for you, John. On a car, I was talking to a friend who's getting rid of a car because we talk cars. And it was a 16 Jetta, a GLI. And it's got around 107 or 117,000 miles.
Okay.
And he said that he's going to get rid of it, or he got rid of it. He's got another car, and he's going to sell it because it needs a timing chain because they should be replaced. And I said, it has a belt? He says, no, it has a chain. I went, I thought chains were good for life in my head. And he says, no. And he says, I looked it up. He says, I thought of doing it, but, it's complicated. And he says, it would cost $4,000 or $5,000 to have it done at the shop. And I went, because they got to, pull the engine, right? Do they need that? And is that true on that? Because he was saying maybe he was going to ask $5,000 for it. So I was just wondering, in general, always interested.
No, the chain should last a long time. Although some of the 2-liter engines and some of the Volkswagens had bad chain guides, and the chains would start to rattle. But if they had normal, if it didn't have a broken guide, there's no reason to think the chain shouldn't last for a very long time.
And the indication of a broken guide is the
you would hear the chain rattling inside the engine.
And if you didn't hear that, then you could go a couple of 100,000, maybe.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
And,
thank you. And the other question: driving school for older people, getting your skills back or helping you. I think AAA had something you mentioned.
Yeah, AAA does. AAA has a program called a Driver Improvement Program, and AARP has one too. and you can look into it. And it's all classroom based. It's not behind the wheel, but it'll give you some tips on things to do.
All right. I thank you very much.
Okay. Thanks, Ken. If you'd like to join us, our phone number is 781-837-4900. Why don't we take a break, pay some bills, and when we come back, maybe we'll be talking to you about your car and your car problems. You're listening to the Car Doctor program in 95.9 WATD. We'll be right back.
Even car geeks and do-it-yourselfers rely on AAA to give them extra peace of mind on the road. AAA offers 24/7 roadside assistance, whether you're in your own vehicle, a friend's car, or even a rental. Combine that with great rates on insurance, hotel, gas, and dining savings, and discounts on 8,700 brands, and you're covered on and off the road. Get a special membership offer today at aaa.com/join. That's aaa.com/join.
Won't you step into the light?
Hi, I'm Dan Chauvin. Step into the light and tune into Twilight Showcase Radio, hosted by Sandy Stride and Keith James on 95.9 WATD and 95.9WATD.com. Search for Twilight Showcase on Facebook and visit twilightshowcase.org.
Twilight Showcase, tonight from 8 to 10 on 95.9 WATD.
Hello, this is Duncan Gray of Eldred's Auctioneers and Appraisers and host of the Eldred's Antique Hour. Have you ever thought about the value of lunchboxes from the 1960s or 1970s? Did you know that Henry Ford had an integral part in the creation of the first charcoal briquettes? Please join us here tomorrow morning from 10 to 11 when we continue these discussions and much more with fascinating guests, your call-ins regarding antiques, arts, and auctions, and the historical context that makes these items so interesting. Right here on 95.9 WATD.
Hi, this is Michael Burns.
And this is Stu Fink.
With Boston Country Oldies.
Heard Sunday night at 10 o'clock.
On 95.9 WATD.
Where you'll hear continuous classic country.
Plus all the great crossover hits.
From Hank, Tex, and Johnny.
To Waylon and Willie, Dolly, Reba, and more.
So remember, Boston Country Oldies.
Every Sunday night at 10.
On the South Shores radio station.
95.9 WATD.
Make an appointment Sunday morning at 11 for John Paul, the Car Doctor, on 95.9 WATD. Now, back to the Car Doctor.
And welcome back to the Car Doctor program on 95.9 WATD. If you'd like to join us, our phone number is 781-837-4900. Love to hear from you and see what's on your mind about cars and car problems. Another question that came in this morning was somebody named Kenny. Kenny says, I have a 2008 Dodge Ram 1500 quad cab. The bottom of all four doors are rusting away, also above the rear wells. What would be the reason for this? As I drive and walk around, I see most Dodge Rams of this era and body style have the same rust. Thanks. Love listening to your radio show online and reading your newspaper column. Well, thank you, Kenny. It is really just, I don't want to say poor design. Well, maybe. What happens is, in any car, there is literally water flowing around it all the time. If you have a car with a sunroof, the sunroof's not a perfectly sealed opening. When it's closed, water can still get in. And in the sort of tray of the sunroof, if you open the sunroof up, you'll see little holes. And those little holes go to drain tubes. And depending on what kind of car it is, the drain tubes might come down the pillar between the two doors. It might come down the cowl, down the windshield where the windshield post is, come out in front of the fenders, and that's where the water goes through. In the doors, think about it. You look at, next time you're washing the windows in your car, that weather strip that's at the top of the window or at the top of the door frame is not a perfectly sealed thing. You can see space inside there because the window's got to go up and down. Well, water can get in there. Well, it's got to get out. So at the bottom of the door, there's drains. And Some of them are pretty obvious. Some of them are part of the weather stripping, but they'll get clogged up. And what we're starting to see in some vehicles now, I read this just the other day when I was looking up service information for a Mercedes. It said clean body drains as part of normal routine service. I think it was like 25,000 miles. It said, clean the sunroof drains and the door drains. So kind of something you need to do, and that's more than likely why the doors on this Ram pickup have rusted out, because over time dirt and debris gets into the bottom of the door. And if you've ever replaced a door motor or something like that, you'll find that at the very bottom, that's where, stuff starts to collect, and that stuff that starts to collect clogs up the doors, so clogs up the drains, and then the car rusts away. In a couple weeks, I think we're having the guy on from Wax Oil. I was never a big preventative or rust preventative guy. I was never a big undercoating guy. All the Rusty Joneses and all that stuff that really didn't seem to do a whole lot of good. But Wax Oil, I like the product. I think it actually does really well. I'm very disappointed in myself that I didn't use Wax Oil on the, I have a little boat, little tiny boat, and I didn't take good enough care of the trailer. And even just being a few years old now, the axle is rustier than I would have liked it to be. The trailer is galvanized, so the trailer itself is okay. But I should have, first time I took the boat off the trailer, any of the metal parts that were not galvanized, I should have sprayed it. I should have undercoated it with wax oil to lock it in and prevent it from rusting. But my mistake, and I'll learn better next time. Our phone number, 781-837-4900. Let's talk to Kevin, who's calling us from Salem, New Hampshire. Kevin, good morning.
Yeah. Good morning, John. First off, I want to. I'm a recipient of multiple trivia prizes going back many years, so I want to thank you for that. What I called about, you're talking about Brad Pitt not being able to do stuff on the set. I'm sure that's due to insurance. I remember reading years and years ago that Steve McQueen in Bullitt, everybody I think knows that he did all his own driving in Bullitt. But in that famous motorcycle jump scene over the barbed wire in The Great Escape, the studio would not let him do that. And the guy who actually did that jump scene is the guy that drove the Charger in Bullitt.
Oh, okay.
Which I read. Like I said, this is going back years ago.
Yeah.
And another thing about Steve McQueen's driving abilities, supposedly he finished third at the 12 Hours of Sebring with his clutch foot in a cast. So again, going back, many, many years.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me that would probably be the case. So, people that are dedicated racers, and whatever they are, when they want to race, they'll race, and whether it's I talked about this guy earlier today, Dale Quarterly. Dale Quarterly was a go-karter when he was a kid, and then he was a motorcycle racer. And he crashed a motorcycle, and it might have been Daytona, racing in the Superbike race. And he literally, smashed up his pinky finger so it was unusable. And he went to the hospital, and they said, well, there's probably some chance we can put it back together and your hand will be in a cast, or we can amputate it. And he went with and he went with that so he could go back and race the next day. And when he did, he came in third or something. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's Mike Wonkum, the Channel 5 weather guy.
Yeah.
He's a motorcycle racer. He's got a Ducati and he's got a Suzuki, and I think he finished third down at Daytona at one point.
Okay.
And you're getting back to Dale Quarterly having his pinky cut off. The guitarist Les Paul, the guy Gibson named a whole line of guitars after him, he had some sort of a mishap with his right arm, and the doctor said we can only set this arm in a certain position. So whatever you want that to be, you decide what it is now, and we'll set that arm, and you're not going to be able to move it much more beyond that. And so he had it set so that he could so that he could play the guitar. Again, who knows how true this stuff is, but that was something I read in a biography of him.
Yeah.
So,
no, it is. I guess it's interesting to see when you hear people like, when you hear celebrities that actually do their own stunts, whether it's, Steve McQueen, driving the Mustang, or, Brad Pitt in the Formula One car, or whatever the case is, those folks that actually are that dedicated to what they're doing, and they enjoy the sport at the same time. I think that's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, anyways, I enjoy the show. Like I said, I've been listening for years. So keep up the good work, and I like the banter between you and is it Jesse?
Jesse, yeah. We don't banter. We don't banter. We don't banter as much. We don't banter as much as some in the past. But we'll try to banter more.
That's all right. It fills time when it needs to be filled. Okay,
all right.
Goodbye now.
All right. Thanks, Kevin.
Yep.
All right, Jesse. We got to banter more.
All right. Noted.
You know how to banter?
Well, I don't know anything about cars, but if you ask me about anything else, we should be good to go.
Anything else? Anything else?
Most things.
Yeah. All right. Okay. All right.
Patriots won the Super Bowl. That was nice.
Yeah. I can tell you're a pro on that too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. So you can share your views on life. I don't know, something like that.
Something like that. We do. I'll share my views on the phone. We have John and Melrose.
Well, let's talk to John and Melrose then. John, good morning.
Hi, this is John from Melrose. My question is, I hear you talk about wax oil.
Yep.
Now, what is it? Where can you get it? And how do you apply it?
It is a waxy-based undercoating. You can buy it in spray cans from like Amazon, or you can have it professionally installed by, there's shops that do it, and they use something that looks like a regular automotive spray gun to put it on. It is. They have two different, maybe even more than two different products. They have one that's an undercoating spray and one that's a cavity spray. So, like, wherever there's a little hole that you can sneak a long tube in, and it comes with this like 3-foot long plastic tube, so you can squirt it down inside the doors, pockets, and stuff like that. And the stuff that goes in the doors is thin, so it doesn't clog up the drain holes like some of the heavier undercoating will, so you don't have to worry about that. And it's you don't have to do a lot of prep. It's best if you could do it on a new car, but as long as the car is clean underneath. I asked about what would happen if you spray it over rust, and basically, I was told by the folks that market this stuff is it locks in kind of the rust where it was, so it shouldn't get any worse afterwards. I have done, I've used it on the Volkswagen that we own, and it still looks pretty good underneath. What I was amazed at is I was talking to a company that does these high-end restorations on Land Rovers. And what they'll do is they'll take an old, 1960s looking, Land Rover that you see, in a jungle safari movie, and they would put new engines. They would put new engines in them, and when they took the cars apart, they would use wax oil to rust-proof all the pieces they were putting back together. There was a kind of how we kind of first learned about this product, and the person that's sort of the product rep for it. We were at a car show, and there was an old Volkswagen van, and it was probably 20 years, probably been restored 20 years previous, and it had a little sticker in the back window, wax oil. And it was sort of like, what's that? And the guy who owned it said, oh, when I had the car rebuilt, the guy was a European restoration guy, and he uses this wax oil stuff in all his restorations. And looked underneath, still looked pretty much brand new under there. So, and there's one of the real popular restoration products is an oil coating product that a lot of people use, and there's also another one called fluid film, which a lot of people use, and it's a kind of a sticky, oily kind of stuff. The difference between that is you need to come back every year and have it checked and then reapplied. Where the wax oil stuff, it's a one and done. You spray it on, and you put like, a 1/16 of an inch thick of the stuff. I probably didn't put that much on, because I just got the couple of spray cans of it, and
so you put too much.
I don't think you can put too much. And the other thing that's nice about it, different than some of the other products, you don't have to worry so much about, if you were spraying the front end of a vehicle, you don't have to worry about spraying things like the ball joint boots, for instance, because it's a waxy, rubbery product, so it doesn't hurt any of the rubber. It actually lubricates it. So you don't have to worry about that. The only thing you'd keep it away from is like the exhaust system, because it would melt. I asked how you get it off, and they said the way you get it off is with a steam cleaner. You got to use really, really hot water, and that will actually dissolve it to get it off. But other than that, it kind of stays on there for a long time. So it's a good product. And again, I was one of these people that. In fact, I was just looking at my schedule. I'm going to be talking to Ken Lemoyne next week about wax oil. So, and Ken is an old car guy, and he's also he's the one who set up the whole car show in Framingham, Cars of New England. All the cars that were built in the Northeast here. He set that up last year, which everybody said was a fantastic show because it was, things like, Pope Hartford from Hartford, Connecticut, and, some of the cars that were built at the GM plant, and, all the cars were built, Springfield Rolls Royces and all that stuff. And, Ken's a classic old car guy. He knows all about all of these cars, but he's also the manufacturer's rep for this wax oil product, and it's popular with those guys. And like I said, I remember going out to see Rusty Jones, watch people put that on back then. I wasn't particularly impressed by that. Some of the other heavy wax products, even that. The stuff you see advertised on TV, the Flex Seal. I've seen people try to undercoat with that. I remember being up in Vermont. I used to do these mobile car care checkup events up in New Hampshire and Vermont. And what we do is we had a van that was all rigged with the exhaust gas analyzer and battery tester, and we'd check people's air in their tires and all that stuff. And we were right on the Vermont border, and there was a car that pulled up, and I opened up the hood, and all this oil ran out from under the hood. And I'm like, what the hell's that? And I didn't think much of it. And then, 2 or 3 cars later, another car, all oily. And by the 4th or 5th car, I said, what's up with all that oil on the cars? And the guy said to me, oh, there's a local guy here. And just before wintertime, a lot of us go in, and he sprays the whole underneath of the car with waste oil, to keep it from rusting out, because we use so much salt on the roads up in Vermont that your car rots away. So he sprays it all with waste oil. And I'm like, well, that's kind of the way they used to do it. Talk to any old, farmer or something. That's how they used to keep all their old equipment from rusting away, because they used to just take a garden sprayer and fill it with waste oil and spray it all over everything. Environmentally, probably not such a good thing having oil dripping all over the place.
Yeah.
But it did keep the cars from rusting out.
It helped.
But this wax oil product works a little bit differently because it's a soap. I think it's soap-based waxy product, and what it does is just clings to everything. It seals out moisture, and it keeps the cars from rusting away. So, again, I was never a big fan of fluid film or New Hampshire oil coat, I think is what they call it, which has nothing to do with really oil, but or any of these other products until I saw this, and I was impressed, not just because it was somebody I know and we told a good story, but because talking to restoration shops, that's what they used, and I figured if they used it, it's got to be pretty good.
Well, it's funny. I've never heard of it. And I own a 2000 Silverado and a 2013 Silverado.
Yeah.
Now, I think Chevys are really inclined to rust more around the wheel wells in the rear.
Yeah.
And it's mainly on one side of the car.
Yeah,
I can explain.
Yeah, it's kind of it's kind of amazing that you can, if you own a certain car that rusts away, walk a parking lot, you'll see the same car with the same rust in the same place, and you wonder how's that work? Why don't they fix that? If you've noticed water collects in a certain area. I was with one of AAA at the national office has an engineering group. It's 3 or 4 folks, I think, maybe 5, I don't know. And they do a lot of engineering studies, everything from self-driving cars to headlight stuff and all kinds of variety of stuff. In fact, Greg Brannon, who's the head of that team, good guy, also a racer. He races a drag car, but he's. I was talking to him one time, and I was with one of his engineers at I forget if it was the Detroit. I think it was the Detroit Auto Show, and what we did for a lot of the show is we walked around and looked at some of the displays where the cars were up in the air, and we looked around and we found that look at where water and mud and dirt and salt are going to accumulate. And I bet we found dozens of cars that were going to rust out because of nothing more than the way they were designed and crevices and nooks and crannies in there, which was going to cause more rust. So, yeah, so you kind of wonder.
Yeah, but the question is, I can't figure out why one side would, it's the same vehicle.
Yeah. It could just be where that tire kicks up water more than the other side. It could just be the way that. Yeah, I mean, it could. You don't know, but you can always kind of count on. Way back to the beginning of my time looking at cars, I always knew that a '64 Chevy, the right rear frame rail was going to rot out because they all did. Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. That's, I like that answer about the wax oil. I never heard about that before.
Yeah. No, you can. Like I said, you can buy it on Amazon. You can buy the cans on Amazon, or you can have it professionally installed. I think if you go to waxoil.com, you can find the installers.
Oh, I can do it myself.
Listen next week. We'll talk about it next week.
All right, I will.
All right. All right. Take care. All right.
Bye now.
Jesse, do you have more banter?
Not yet. I'm still working on it.
Still working on the banter? Okay, then we'll talk to Paul in Marshfield. How's that? Paul, is that you? We'll talk to Paul in Marshfield instead?
Oh, yeah. He's got much better banter than I do.
All right. Let's talk to Paul. Paul, good morning. Paul?
Hi. Yes. Hi.
Go ahead.
So I just wanted to say I had my Tundra undercoated by this guy O'Hanley in Taunton. And hello?
Hello, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. And they used lanolin, which never hardens.
Right.
And
yeah. I like the lanolin product too. It tends to wear off a little bit more than some of the other ones, but way better than some of the other stuff that I'm not a huge as much of a huge fan. But yeah, and how's it holding up?
So the reason I called was because I heard you address something about it. It kind of surrounded the rust and stopped it from growing, spreading.
Yep.
And when I got this stuff, I have a hitch, right?
Yep.
The receiver.
Yep.
And that was really rusty. And in my opinion, I'm not a scientist, but that lanolin actually displaced the rust.
Yeah. Well, if it can seal out the air, it's not going to rust. So, yeah.
They say if you dropped a brand new Land Rover to the bottom of the ocean 2,000 feet, it wouldn't rust because there's no oxygen down there. But anyways, so what did you just ask me? Don't tell me.
How's it holding up?
He only guarantees if you drive it from the showroom and they get the first chance of undercoating it. So the negative is the first Tundra I did was before COVID, and it was like 130, 140 maybe. Then I brought it back after COVID, and just like everything else, his costs went up on a barrel of that stuff. So I hate to say this, but it was like double.
Yeah. Well,
and I think he gave me a little bit of a break because that was obvious a previous customer. But the gentleman that owns that place, he's personable. He gets back to you. He's on Instagram. If you want to see complete restorations of Jeeps is his favorite thing. They do everything. They repair the frame. They give you a new frame. There's this and that. I'm not a Jeep guy because there's no place to ride Jeeps around here anymore. So kids get robbed out of their innocence. But remember going and you drive the Jeep until you were stuck or you blew the transmission or something happened, and then you learn how to fix it, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. No. And I think probably the stuff you had might be wool wax, maybe. That I'm trying to remember what the lanolin-based stuff.
So it must be it.
Yeah. And I think fluid film is a lanolin-based product too.
John, the only complaint I have about it is sometimes I like to put my keys. I hang it on that bolt that comes up from the rear shock.
Yeah.
It never dries.
Yeah.
But this last time it seems like it hardened way more than the first time I had it. I don't know because I still hang my keys up under that where the shock.
Well, don't tell anybody. We're going to come out and get it.
I don't care. Take my car. Take my life. I don't care anymore. What am I going to do about it? Right.
All right.
I'm a 66. No, but so Paul John is it? And I listen to this all the time. I really like your program.
Well, I appreciate that.
I forget so he suggests to do it every year, but I missed this year because it rained or something, or I couldn't go there, and then the next time it was already too late. There was salt down on the roads. But this is my second year after, and you can't find any places where it's absent,
Yeah.
I'll definitely do it next year. But anyways, I can tell you running out of time. Thank you for your time.
All right. Thanks, Paul. Take care. We need to take a break, pay some bills. Johnny in Plymouth, Frank in Braintree, stay there. We'll be with you in just about a minute or two. You're listening to the Car Doctor program on 95.9 WATD. We'll be right back.
Even car geeks and do-it-yourselfers rely on AAA to give them extra peace of mind on the road. AAA offers 24/7 roadside assistance, whether you're in your own vehicle, a friend's car, or even a rental. Combine that with great rates on insurance, hotel, gas, and dining savings, and discounts on 8,700 brands, and you're covered on and off the road. Get a special membership offer today at aaa.com/join. That's aaa.com/join.
Talk radio with a South Shore point of view. Hi, I'm Kevin Chachi. Join me tomorrow for Monday Night Talk, where the South Shore comes to talk. Tomorrow night, after the 6 o'clock news here on 95.9 WATD.
And welcome back to the Car Doctor program on 95.9 WATD. Let's talk to Johnny in Plymouth. Johnny, good morning.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
All right. Hey, I travel a lot. I see a lot. And what I don't get is you see a lot of vehicles out on the road. Why people just don't go to car washes, especially when it comes to New England with all the salt. And the importance of doing an undercarriage wash. I just don't understand how people can just drive around and spend a fortune on how much it costs for a vehicle these days, and they just don't take care of them.
Well, and I agree with you. And the other thing is, from somebody who used to work on cars, it was psychological. But when someone came in with a car that was well taken care of, you were more. You just tended to want to do a little bit more. And, a car comes in that hasn't been washed since it was new. It still has, 4 years worth of McDonald's wrappers in the car. You do your job, but, I don't understand when somebody goes out and spends $30, $40, $50, $80,000 for a vehicle and they don't take care of it. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Exactly. And when I see that, I also think people are just driving that car, doing no regular maintenance, especially oil. On one of my vehicles I have a 2008 Honda Civic. It has 360,000 miles on it. Because I've always done the oil changes. Everything that is supposed to be done, I get done. And that's why it's lasted so long.
And it's not, and what you just said, everything that's supposed to be done, you get done. And you don't have to do, you don't have to change the oil every 2,000 miles. Just follow the recommendation and look under the hood once in a while and check and see what the levels are. So many times I hear people, they go, well, I don't have to change the oil till every 7,500 miles. Yeah, but that doesn't keep you from the obligation of opening up the hood and pulling the dipstick every once in a while, because in 7,500 miles, chances are it's going to use a couple of quarts of oil. That's normal. And all of a sudden now, instead of driving around with 5 or 6 quarts of oil in the engine, you're driving around with 3 or 4. And that's enough where you're going to cause extra wear and tear on the engine. So take care of your car.
Exactly. And just to run back to the car wash, there's a lot of car washes wherever you live. If you just download an app or even go on their webpage, for instance, I'm not going to mention the name because it's advertisement, but the car wash that I started going to, I bought the monthly thing where you have unlimited, unlimited washes. And at the end of the day, if you're traveling by that car wash at least 2 or 3 times a week, you might as well buy that plan and go through it. It's 5-10 minutes out of your life.
Yeah, I would prefer, if it was a perfect world, I would prefer to be able to get under there in bad weather with a hose and wash it off with nice, clean, fresh water. And most car washes today recycle their water. And I always worry about the ones that don't do it right. And, now all of a sudden you're washing a car with salty water. But the new modern car washes, you can pretty much drink the water that comes out of the spray. So the old ones, that might have not been the case. So those ones I worried about a little bit more. And, the idea of, high-pressure water being sprayed somewhere, as long as it's clean, fresh water, it's not a problem. Or as long as it's at least filtered water, it's not a problem. So, but you're right. Doing that undercarriage wash, like I said, in my opinion, the best thing would be get under there with a hose and rinse it off with a hose. But you can't do that when it's 8 degrees outside. So you have to rely on the drive-through car wash. And like you said, if you're going to, whatever the car wash was, and you buy the book of unlimited washes or the pass of unlimited washes, and you drive by there a couple times a week, and, on certain days they're going to be really crowded. On other days they're not. You drive by and you're like, oh, there's only one person waiting in line. I'll go get my car washed. And don't you feel better when you're in a clean car?
Oh, exactly. And to go back to your comment regarding them changing the water, you can usually tell. I haven't run into the problem where I go now. of course, it's like a new car wash, and it's also a corporate car wash.
Yeah.
But you can smell that smell. You're not smelling the
yeah. I was going to say that your nose usually tells you which ones are using the right stuff. So
exactly, and that's where I don't go back to.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. No, absolutely right.
Just something I wanted to pass along and talk about.
Thanks for the
more
tip.
People will understand. Hey, thank you so much.
All right, thanks,
Enjoy
Johnny.
yourself.
Let's see if we get to Frank real quick. Frank, is that you? Frank?
Mr. Paul, just wondering, I got a 2025 Toyota Corolla, and I was shocked when I was reading the owner's manual on they require 0 W8 viscosity motor oil. And I've been changing oil all my life for many years, and I've always used my cars 530, 1030, 1040, and I was shocked to see 0 W8 viscosity. And a couple of weeks ago, you mentioned Hyundai, or I think it was Kia, that had engine issues with the lower viscosity oil. And I think GM also, and they recommended switch to a higher viscosity.
They went to a heavy grade oil just to do that. And have you priced out the 0 W8 Toyota oil? It's like $15 a quart.
Yeah, I went to the dealer. I bought it at the dealership late November of 2024, and I only got like 5,000 miles on the car.
All right.
I had to bring it to the dealer back in November, just before the year up, and they did the oil change for free under the Toyota new car 2-year maintenance thing. And but the salesman, the sales rep, was telling me that the oil is expensive, because I was telling him I always did oil changes myself, you know.
Yeah.
But it's some special oil, they said, you know. And I said, 0 W8. That seems kind of light to me, you know what I mean? And
I mean it was first used in a Prius, and then they started using it in some other vehicles, and it's one of those things that I'm kind of lost for words here, but it's one of those things where I think I looked it up one time, and it's 0 W8 in the U.S., but it's like 520 in Australia or something. It's the same car. And it's like, well, why in Australia do they use 5W20 or 0W20, and in the United States you use 0W8? And it's all has to do with miles per gallon and emissions, I guess.
Yeah. No, I've always been using Mobil 1 in my older cars, and I never had a problem. And I was just wondering, I unexpectedly had to get rid of my old Honda, and I got a couple of 5-gallon containers of Mobil 1 5W30. Can I actually use that in this Toyota without avoiding the manufacturer's warranty?
I would not. I would not. I would worry that if something bad happened, they would say, no, we're not going to do it. Hey, that music means we need to go, but thanks for the question, and be well.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much.
All right.
Have a great show. I listen to every week, John.
Well, thank you very much. All right. Well, until next week, make sure you wear your seatbelt, drive safely, be good to your car, and if you do see an emergency vehicle by the side of the road, slow down and move over. It saves lives. Talk to you all next week. Bye-bye.